Hi, and welcome back to Jackie's Homeroom. Today we're going to explore the subject in academic and professional writing and how to use it well. So welcome back. If your writing sometimes feels unclear, confusing, or difficult to follow, there's a very good chance that the problem is the subject. So once you understand it, your writing will become almost immediately clearer. And in English, readers often expect the subject to appear early in the sentence and to connect clearly to the main verb. So when that expectation is met, the writing feels smooth and easy to follow. Sometimes the subject may come a little later if there are a lot of adverbs or added details before it. But usually we like to see it at the beginning or close to the beginning. So let's start understanding, first of all, what a subject is. In academic and professional writing, the subject is a noun or pronoun or a noun phrase that carries out the action in the sentence. In other words, it's the person or the place or the thing or the idea that performs the action. Very simply, the subject answers the question, who or what is doing something? For example, students conduct research. The subject is students. The subject tells your reader who or what the sentence is about. So why does it matter? Why does the subject matter? Strong writing depends on strong subjects. When the subject is clear, the reader feels guided. When the subject is weak, hidden, or constantly changing, the reader gets lost. And it's very common to see long sentences and even entire paragraphs where the subject changes or isn't clearly mentioned at all. In English academic writing, the subject is the anchor. It helps the reader stay oriented and understand how ideas connect. Let's look at a very common example. Here's a sentence. It is believed that increased communication among team members can lead to improved productivity. This sentence sounds academic, but the subject is unclear. Why? It is not a real subject. And the real subject is hiding. This kind of structure is so common in academic writing and business writing, especially in passive constructions, which we'll look at in another video. But it often makes the writing feel distant and vague, unclear. Now let's revise this sentence. Researchers believed that increased communication among team members leads to improved productivity. So we go from it is believed, which is vague, to a visible active subject. Researchers believe something. The idea hasn't changed, but the clarity has. Let's look at what kind of subjects we have. They can take on many forms. They can be people such as students, researchers, managers, or they can be groups like organizations, universities, companies. They can also be ideas. For example, this study examines the effect of sleep deprivation. Here's another one. Effective leadership improves team performance. So these are known as abstract subjects. They are very common in academic writing and perfectly acceptable as long as they are clear and specific. Another common problem is when a subject is too long. Let's look at this example. The rapid increase in the number of international students who enroll in higher education institutions across multiple countries has created new challenges. Okay, 18 words in the subject, and you finally get to the verb. So the reader is working too hard just to find the subject or understand what it is. Now let's look at a clearer version. The rapid increase in international student enrollment has created new challenges. Down to 7 words for the subject. We took 11 words off, and the shorter subject became clearer. It had the same meaning, but it had better flow. Now, an aside, and this is important because oftentimes people will write things and fluff it up a little with lots of extra words to reach a certain word count. And this usually backfires. In the end, you'll be asked to revise and shorten your sentences anyway for clarity. So it's best to focus on clarity from the start. I also want to talk about subjects at the paragraph level. In strong academic writing, each paragraph usually has one main subject, and that subject should appear clearly in the first sentence or two. After that, you can repeat the subject or refer to it carefully. Now, repeating the subject is not bad writing, but changing the subject too often using other pronouns can be very confusing. What happens is writers often try to avoid repetition of the subject, let's say researchers, by using other pronouns. And this can help, but it can also cause confusion. So I want to give you an example to be clear. The company implemented new policies to improve employee well-being. They also reduced working hours, which improved productivity. Now, who is they? The company or the employees? I made it kind of sound like the company, but we're not quite sure. And this is one of the most common issues I find in writing. Let's look at a clearer version of this same sentence. The company implemented new policies to improve employee well-being. The company also reduced working hours, which improves productivity. Now, repeating the subject improved the clarity. We're talking about the company. And so clarity is more important than variety here. We want to make sure people know who we're talking about. Of course, we don't overuse this approach either. You don't need to start every sentence the same way with the company, but it's okay to repeat the subject when it helps the reader. So you have to reread your work and imagine yourself in the reader's mind. Am I being clear? Let's review some practical tips now. First, decide the main subject of the paragraph. Second, name it clearly at the beginning of the paragraph. Third, repeat the subject when needed. Make sure we're following you. And don't be afraid of repetition, but don't overdo it. Fourth, use pronouns only when the reference is obvious. If your reader ever asks, "Who is this about?" the subject needs help. Great. So if you're an international student or an ESL writer, remember this. This is a reminder. Clear writing is not about sounding advanced. It's about making your ideas easy to follow. Strong subjects create strong paragraphs, and your ideas deserve that clarity. In the next lesson, we'll explore verbs and how subjects and verbs work together to create powerful sentences. Until then, keep writing, keep revising, and I'll see you next time.